I can get the 3/4 inch round carbon, not round, square carbon steel. If you want to help out buying some aluminum or I keep saying aluminum, this is steel, man. We're dealing with good old hardened carbon steel. Hello again, my nomies, and welcome back to the MT and me. Here inside Pearl, we are all set to continue with our roof restoration that really got started in earnest last week. But before we do anything this week, I have a big oopsie to confess to you and straighten out, hopefully, okay? Ree, with her eagle eyes, noticed that I was guilty of gross misuse of a template. Here's what I mean. Now, you recall last week we were using a template to cut those rounded edges on our 2x4 cross beams that will reinforce the roof, right? Well, as you can see in this still shot from cutting last week, look at that template carefully. You notice it has a gap in it, like this. Well, that's for a very specific reason, because this template was cut in order to fit on the top bar of Pearl. Let me show you. See, this right here is the top bar of the wall, and this, of course, is the curved part of the ceiling. This was cut so that that little gap fits right in there and matches the ceiling. And the curvature is designed to match with that little notch in place there. Now, all that being said, I refer you back to the still shot I just showed you. I have a small piece of 2x4 here that I can actually handle here inside rather than messing with one of these 8-foot ones. If you noticed, I was cutting that angle with the template positioned just like this. Okay? See where the gap is? Notice where the gap is? Okay, and that gave me that angle right there, which would have been there, and we'd set this on top. Now that would be great if this were designed to sit that way, because the notch is below the angle. So that much is correct for a vertical piece. But these pieces are going horizontally. So my template should have been like this. To put it against that edge and right there, and then cut the angle. Now, I don't know exactly how much of a difference that's going to make, but I would definitely say with this arc, or any arc for that matter, there's going to be a difference in this part and this part. And that basically is what this is coming down to. Whenever we go to cut another one of these 2x, we'll be very sure we have the template in the correct orientation, because I don't want to be guilty of template abuse anymore. Okay? And I want to get these braces cut as close as I can to fit against the metal braces on the roof. And speaking of the metal braces on the roof, Ree mentioned something else that I had just kind of sort of forgotten about. And I say that because this is something I have mentioned over and over in the past. Over the past 2 years, references have been made to this problem, and I just managed to completely gloss over it during all of this work on Pearl's ceiling. Decades of moisture and leaking have caused some of this metal to completely decay here. Now this is tubular steel, so it's pretty strong, but once it gets wet, it is going to wear out in places, and that's exactly what's happened here, as well as here. I can put my finger inside. It is just completely gone. There's only, oh, look at that. It's not even connected there anymore. Now, as I discussed before, the idea that we have is to sister in some additional metal beside these damaged areas and do some spot welding to get it in place so that you got the two pieces together. Therefore, you're going to have the support through the weak spots where we're losing our integrity on this metal lace work, really, that is covering the entire roof of Pearl. I think I mentioned before that there's a lot of factors to consider in this project, more so than just getting these pieces of wood cut and fitted across the top. We got to be sure that our roof is ready. And so at this point, as I can see it right now, the very next stage, I can still be cutting these braces. You can still, be getting those ready to go. Okay, so we've got that. And now we know how to use our template properly. That should be no problem. We'll get those cut. But before we get them installed, first of all, we got to have to install the braces permanently along the side rails, because right now those are just held in place with C-clamps. But even before all that, there's some work on this actual roof that needs to be done. We've got to, first of all, get all of this metal work here, be sure it's in good condition, and be sure it's reinforced and supporting like it should. So that really is going to be the first job to be taken care of. I still have a little more of the brace wires here that I'm putting in to go in, at least 3 on each side, maybe 4. We'll see, but at least 3 in that outside section. Should get it anyway. So we'll get that taken care of as well. Now, once we get those 2 jobs done, then we can see about putting our big braces down the side, securing them in place. That'll mean drilling a hole and locking them in, drilling a hole through the metal up into the wood, and then screwing that in place to hold that. And then we can see about taking all the wooden braces that I hopefully will have already cut and ready to go and start putting them in and securing them to our side wooden braces. The way they're coming up against the area, you don't have a lot of room there, but I think we'll be able to toenail in. And in addition to being the support for these wooden braces, these side panels are also going to be the top support for our wall studs that we're going to put in too. And we'll have to fit those and see how we want to cut them and fit them later on down the road. One surface at a time. I'm going to work on the ceiling, and then we'll worry about the walls. As usual, I got a lot going on in Pearl. Oh, and there's still some stuff we could do on the engine too, because I'm determined that I need to get her ready to roll over and see if it's going to run and what else I'm going to have to do there. So there's plenty to do. And once again, I'm always open to your suggestions and recommendations. So go ahead and give me those comments below, because I definitely could use your help. In the meantime, I think right now I'm going to go get online and look for some, I guess you call it tubing, whether it's square or round or whatever. But that's what they've used in Pearl to hold the roof up, and I need some. Go see what I can find, and we will be back. All right. Well, Nomies, welcome back to the MT and me. It is a cold and windy and blustery day. I don't want to be out here too long because it is just downright chilly in here. And so we're going to try and make this quick today, but I got a few things I want to share with you. I did some checking into my metal tubing. This is 3/4 inch. I measured a couple of times just to be sure. So it's 3/4 square inch carbon steel tubing. The wall size, I'm not real sure on this. Most of what I'm finding online is like 0.065 inches, which I think is getting down to maybe around 1/16 of an inch or something like that. Anyway, that should be plenty heavy enough in the steel tubing according to the other specifications. Shouldn't be any problem as far as being able to support. And the 3/4 inch will be able to sister in perfectly, be a perfect match on the tubing that I have here, so we can be able to weld it in place and supplement the areas that need supplementing, for lack of a better term. And I've isolated those areas. I showed you a couple of them earlier in the video. We'll look at those again, and 2 more places. There's really not that many that need that much help. When you look at this tubing, before I start showing you specific spots, you know, some of it has a fine coat of surface rust on it, and a little wear and tear and age. It has also been painted with a rust converter that has shown some success, but not completely. Of course, the product I used said it could well take a second coat to do the trick, and I'm thinking that might be necessary here on Pearl's framing. But I do want to take a good, maybe a power grinder with a wire brush on it, and go over all this to give it a really good brushing and cleaning, because there is in addition to that very fine coating of rust here and there, there's also some other residue that's been left behind. Most of it is old adhesive that was used in part to hold insulation in place and to hold the ceiling in place that used to be attached to it. And so you've got all that stuff on there, and I need to get all that off and get it cleaned up, get it recoated with the rust converter to preserve it further, and then we'll be able to weld these sections in. And well, I've showed it to you before, but again, I'll show you the worst place that needs repair. It's right above me. This spot right here is kind of in the center towards the back of Pearl, and it is the worst place. We have the metal eaten away here, and in fact this section right here is not even attached anymore. It has come completely free, and so we need to sister in some right angle braces right here and also right over here in order to be sure and hold this in good position. I think we'll be okay on this side because we have solid metal still at those points, but that is the weakest spot in the entire ceiling that has a problem. Right over here beside it is another bad spot. Here again, I can just literally put my finger up inside and even pull away a little bit of the metal there. So in this case, it's going to require a sister piece to go along here and brace this up wish I could get one over the top, but I really don't think that's going to be possible. But we might see about putting some sort of cover, because we do have an area here that there's nothing on top. And I'd like to get that fixed as well. Just one section away towards the back, there's another hole in the framing right here. Now here again, this is smaller. It's still solid on the sides and top, but I do want to come in on one side or the other and sister in a piece for additional bracing. And while we're at this junction, this is a good place to show you how this is put together. These are the cross beams that travel from side to side. They actually bend down and attach to the framing that goes around Pearl and forms the top of her walls. Now these pieces here and here are simply inserted between these. These pieces are on 16-inch centers if you go front to back, just like wall studs are. And these little inserts are simply butt welded up against each one of these cross pieces. And there are three rows of them. This row is in the middle. 2 feet to one side, there's another row, and 2 feet to the other side, there's yet another row. Here again, you can see the butt welding very clearly here in this junction, since there's no damage at all. The cross piece is solid, and then the individual sections. And then you've got one over here to the other side too, before it goes on down and attaches to the top braces along the top of the wall. So there's one more spot here to show you, and it's going to be hard to see in the low light. But there's a hole right here, perfectly round hole. It has a metal grommet in it. And what this was is a wire access. They had a wire coming up from the side, going through here, that actually went to the air conditioner unit on the top of Pearl. Now, this much of a hole is not that bad. It is braced by that grommet, but on the back side, it's eaten out quite a bit more, big enough I can put my finger in there, and as you can see, put it right up against the back of that grommet. So I want to put a brace in here to go along the back side to cover that hole and give a little more structural integrity to that. And those are the 4 areas that really need some structural reinforcement here inside Pearl. Everything else, despite the fact that it might look a little bit dicey here and there, but structurally speaking, it's quite sound. The wells are in good shape. There are no holes in the carbon steel tubing that we have. Except for those that I just showed you. Those are the only places. And that's simply water damage. Over the years, water has managed to seep in through whatever breaks in the metal, the aluminum roofing that's on there. And they've simply sat in this area for long enough that it's caused damage. Remember, this is a 1977 motorhome, and she literally just sat outside on a parking lot in the Nebraska weather, winter, summer, and everything in between, for years and years before I came along and rescued her, brought her to Arkansas, which had to be a cultural shock. All of this old metal, and never been down here in southern heat and humidity, at least not very much. So that's where we stand right now on our ceiling metal. I told you I'd looked up some online, and I've discovered it's not expensive. I can get the 3/4 inch square carbon steel tubing for anywhere from around $2.75 to $3 a foot. And with the places I've isolated so far that need reinforcement, I'm not going to need that many feet. So I think if I were to buy 8, maybe 10 feet at the very most, then perhaps I could have a little left over for future repairs if ever necessary, or for some other application, because we do have a lot of construction work to do here inside Pearl as far as building out cabinetry and things like that. Might come in handy on down the road. Now, I need you to do your part. I need some feedback here, some comments, some suggestions. What do you think about sistering in some additional metal braces in order to help to support this roof line and reinforce it? Is it best to use the same kind of tubing, the 3/4 inch tubing, as opposed to, I'd also looked at like L brackets that would fit up against the tubes that are already there. That would give support on a side and the bottom. A lot of these places don't have a bottom at all left. So welding that in place would not give as much structural coverage overall for strength, but yet it would provide more coverage of the damaged area. Do you think that would be a better alternative to consider? Or even a U-shape? I think I could get a channel, is what they call it. It'd be U-shaped that would fit up over the 3/4 inch not aluminum, but steel, 3/4 inch steel bracing that's here, to weld that in place. Just let me know what you're thinking, okay? Because I've told you what I'm thinking, and I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts and opinions about how to approach this problem. So put them in the comments below on this video, and while you're down there, click the thumbs up. Let me know that you watched and that you enjoyed it. I appreciate that for certain. Also below you'll find a link to the mtme.com. You'll find a link to buy me a coffee if you want to help out buying some aluminum or I keep saying aluminum. This is steel, man. We're dealing with good old hardened carbon steel bracing to help reinforce the roof here inside Pearl. And also a link to our Facebook page. I hope you'll keep up with us on that as well for the MT and me. So now I'm getting so cold, I'm babbling, and my mind is starting to frost up. So I'm going to quit right here where I am for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please give me your comments. Let me know what you're thinking, okay? And join us again next week right here on the MT and me. For now, I am a very cold Russ, and thanks for watching, my nomies. We'll talk later.